Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our first webinar Wednesday of the year, Pharmacy Fortunes. Can I get a round of applause? Woo! So, today I will be your host. My name is Jaden, and I am your Western Area Coordinator. And the aim of the game is which of our two teams can get the most points come the end of the game show. I'm going to hand you over to Abdullah now as we meet our families.
Hey guys, so I'm Abdullah. I'm the co-host for today with Jaden, second year pharmacy student, a third year pharmacy student from the University of Sunderland, and your Northern Area coordinator for this mandate. And now let's welcome our teams, starting with the Baclofam family.
Hi guys, I'm Ayub. I'm a trainee pharmacist. Lovely to not see you all, but lovely to have you all on with us. And my favorite thing about first year was all the freebies I got.
Hi everyone, my name's Ruby. I'm a second year at Huddersfield. And my favourite thing about first year was all the extracurricular activities on your Freshers Week. Go to all the open days.
Hi guys, my name is Arachua. I'm a fourth year pharmacy student at the University of Nottingham, one of your annual conference organisers. And my favourite thing about first year was definitely Freshers' Fair.
Hey, I'm Bhavnita. I'm a fourth year pharmacy student and the other annual conference organizer at Nottingham. My favorite thing about first year, I think, was just being able to go out whenever and not having a curfew or anything like that.
Wow, so we have the Baclofam family coming strong, and now onto the Ibuprofen family. Let's welcome them.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining tonight. My name is Martina. I'm a foundation trainee pharmacist and a graduate from Swansea University, and I'm your BPSA president for this mandate. My favorite thing about first year was all the freebies and just joining all the different societies available.
Hey everyone, my name is Maria. I'm the Vice President for the BPSA for this mandate. I graduated from the University of Birmingham and I'm now a qualified pharmacist. My favorite thing about first year was the freebies as well, but also meeting everyone for the first time in first year.
Hi guys, my name's Molly. I'm a Kingston graduate, currently a foundation trainee, and I'm also the Sec Gen for this year. My favorite thing about first year was Freshers' Fair, first of all, and also meeting so many amazing people. I met some of my best friends in the world in first year, so you've got that to look forward to.
Wow, so we've got the Ibuprofen family coming strong too. And now on to the fun. Gonna hand it over to you, Jaden.
Guys, don't our families look great today? They look great today, don't they? Okay, so as I mentioned, the name of the game is the family that gets the most points wins. It's as simple as that, really. So we asked our executive team to name pieces of advice that you would give to our first years. Let's see what our survey said. Our top answer was
Timeline. Yeah.
timeline.
So at university, you've just started your 4 year undergraduate degree, and that will give you all the teaching you need to become a pharmacist. With that, after you've graduated from university, had all the fun of exams and just living life, you'll move on to foundation training year, which is it used to be called the pre-reg year, but it's basically where you're employed but still in training, being supervised, and at the end of that, you'll become a qualified pharmacist.
Yeah, and just following on from that, so after you've completed the training year, um, you will sit the GPHC assessment. So essentially, it's a massive exam at the end of your training year. You're working full time as a pharmacist, but under supervision during your training year. And then right at the end, after a year, you'll have 2 sittings, so either in the summer, in June, or near the winter, in November. Once you sit that big exam, so it's a calculations exam and a clinical exam, once you pass that, and you just do a bit of paperwork, you're finally a registered pharmacist. And then just to add to that as well, if you are a foundation student, you will complete your foundation year and then go into your MPharm degree. If you are an OSPAP student, so obviously you're qualified but not in the UK, you will complete your OSPAP course and then you will undergo the same foundation training year as everyone else and also pass that exam. And if you're in the Bradford Sandwich year, then your training year will be embedded within your degree. So that way it's not separate, but it's together.
Right, so that was our first answer. And again, we asked 100 people to name a piece of advice they'd give to first year pharmacy students. What have we got? What have we got up next?
Ding, 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 ding. I'm going to go and say resources.
Oh, is it resources? Well, it is. So 17 people said it was resources.
Excellent. So, as a first year pharmacy student, you're going to meet a lot of essential resources. Think of them as your essential toolkit for your time during your degree and onwards. So, first up, we have the BNF. This is the pharmacist's go-to guide. It gives you a lot of information about license indications, adult doses, cautions, interactions, side effects, and monitoring. You're going to use it in OSCEs, on wards, and in dispensing as well during placements and other activities. We also have the BNFC, which is the child-friendly version of the BNF. Pediatric dosing is not always just small adult doses, so this book tells you exactly how it is to prescribe safely and effectively for babies, children, and young people. Up next, we have the MEP, which is the Medicines Ethic and Practice Guide. This is your professional code in book form. It covers pharmacy law, ethics, best practice. Think of it as like controlled drugs, record keeping, consent, confidentiality guide. It keeps your practice legal and professional. Up next, we have the EMC, which is the Electronic Medicines Compendium. This is a free online database of manufacturer-approved documents. It includes your summary of product characteristics, which are like the technical details for healthcare professionals, and your patient information leaflets. This is the leaflets that the patients find inside the medication boxes. This is perfect when you want, the official wording straight from the company. And then also a good resource to always have about is the MD Calc. It's an online calculator toolkit for clinical decision making. It gives you stuff like kidney function to risk scores such as your CHA2DS2-VASc, which you'll come to learn about. MD Calc will save you from memorizing a lot of formulas and ensures accuracy in practice.
Jumping in the resources, you've also got things like Anki and Quizlet, which are your like flashcard bases, where you can create your own flashcards or make them or even search them up that other people have made them too. If you're more into note taking, definitely utilise Word, Docs, Notion, or OneNote, especially if you've got access for university, definitely use them. If you're not more of a writer, you might want to be more of like a visual learner, then YouTube's a great space to look at. So some of our favourites are Ninja Nerd, Speed Pharmacology, Professor Dave Explains, and there's a lot more out there too. If you're a bit more low-key, you might want to follow some pharmacy creators, like Revised Pharma, or maybe Pharmadrama. We also do weekly trainee Tuesday quizzes. I did these in my first year. I got half of them wrong, but I definitely learned from them and I use them every week to this day. Some of my top tips is don't be afraid to try different methods in your first year. You might find things are going to work for you and might not work for your friend and vice versa. So just go for what works best for you. Also, a top tip from me, definitely pay attention to the learning outcomes. I didn't realise this until it was too late during my first year, but the lecturers have always put the learning outcomes at the start of their slides, and these are what they're going to be asking you on your exams. So make sure to start from there, and then you're going to ace your revision.
Okay. That was resources. Some good answers there. I like that one. Let's see what's next. The question of today is name a piece of advice you'd give to first-year pharmacy students. Let's see what our survey says.
Ding, ding, ding. Can I buzz in? Oh, we've got assessment.
Oof. Unfortunately, assessment isn't on the board. It's not on the board.
Oh,
Good answer that, but not good enough this time. We're gonna give this one to the other
Oh,
team.
that's a steal, Jaden, isn't it?
This is
Let's
still
see again. So, name a piece of advice you'd give to first year pharmacy students. What have we got now?
ding, ding, ding. I'll pick careers.
So, careers is up next in third with 12 people saying it in our survey. Let's hear.
Right, guys. So this word cloud is built entirely from career options that pharmacists can pursue from the future. As you can see, the world is your oyster. So community and hospital pharmacy stand out. They're generally the biggest. They're probably the most traditional when you think of pharmacy, when it comes to mind. But it still makes them equally important, guys. Let's not forget about how much work they do. They're there for us every day in the community, supporting patients day to day in the pharmacy, and they're there on wards and specialist services in the hospital and things like that. But pharmacy goes beyond that, guys. GP and clinical positions are expanding daily, with pharmacists prescribing in GPs, and running clinics, things like that. But as well as that, we have industry as well, where they work in formulation science, research, manufacturing trials, all these things. And then there's other options as well. We've got academia, where it lets you teach and shape the next generation. And there's also less obvious routes. So we got military, prison, humanitarian work, which is a big space at the moment. And we've got focus on policy, advocacy, and regulation. So if any of these really like draw your attention to them, then you should explore that in your year really. But again, it's early on for you guys, so make sure just to enjoy, use your placements, use your projects to explore, and remember your first role doesn't always define you as well. But the main message is that a pharmacy degree opens a lot of doors for you. So as long as you know that going forward, you'll be safe and sound, guys.
And if you're thinking you might want to get started off in your career now and early, here are our top jobs/internships that you can do while studying. So in terms of job, the main one is being a dispenser. This can be in community or hospital, but it's a great way to get your experience up whilst you're studying, and it helps massively. Other jobs, something like a healthcare assistant, so you're still getting that practice in through medicine. A lot of people choose to be tutors whilst they're studying, because it's really easy now online, you can sign up for it. Some people are their student union rep, so again, get involved with a university. Working in retail's really good because as pharmacists, you're going to be patient facing. So if you can deal with the public, you're going to be sound. Another thing is to look at volunteering, which is a really good way to get some experience as well. In terms of internships, your main ones would be in your industry. So are your drug companies like Pfizer or GSK? There's a thing called the Pharmaceutical Journal, which is like almost like our BBC but for pharmacy, and they do offer an internship yearly, so maybe watch out for that. Also getting involved with research projects and things that go on inside your university. But the main thing is any skill, any job can be transferable, especially for a career in pharmacy.
Okay. Aim of the game. Name a piece of advice you would give to first-year pharmacy students. Let's see what our survey said as our next answer.
Ding, ding, ding. I'm gonna go with extracurricular activities.
Let's see if that's on the board. extracurricular activities for 10 points.
Perfect. So extracurricular activities are so important when you start university. As it says, they're honestly a great way to meet a whole lot of new people. Everyone at your university has come from different areas, so it's definitely a great way to meet and interact with a lot of different people. Joining societies is definitely a way that can help you build community, not just for your first year, but throughout your whole degree. And this can last till afterwards as well. It also helps you maintain a healthy work-life balance, which is something you definitely want to do once you graduate as well. I definitely check out your student union and see how much different opportunities there are available to you. Don't just stick with your typical things. If people tell you, oh, when you join university, there's like a criteria society you should get involved with, I'd say branch out and look into all different options and see what's best for you. Sports clubs, I'd say, are a great way to get involved and also be active as well. It can be very easy to just stay in your room, not really get outside. Sports clubs are a way for you to get outside and meet a whole lot of new people while staying active. For me, outside of pharmacy, just as an example, things that I'm involved with, obviously BPSA, one of your annual conference organizers for this mandate. Up and coming, we'll hear a bit about the PDA, which has their own equality networks, and I'm involved with the Black and Ethnic Minority Network there. My own School of Pharmacy has a netball team, which I joined in second year, and this year I'm the vice captain, and it's always great to interact with people that are older than you on the same course because you can get all the advice from them as well. So if you can, if your School of Pharmacy has sports teams, I'd say definitely get involved. Got girl guiding as well. If you've heard of brownies, rainbows, guides, I'm involved with that. And it's always good to be involved in your community. If you can find somewhere nearby you at your university, or even stay in touch with the people that you've got at home, volunteering there is always a good idea. If you're religious, there's always religious fellowships and societies that you can get involved with at university, which can help you maintain your faith while you're away from home. And the more circles you're in, the more people you'll meet. And a massive part of uni, as I said, is connecting with new people. So don't miss your opportunity, especially now in first year, where you might have a bit more time.
Wow, that was really helpful. You know, actually, what when I was in first year, I didn't know all about this. That is a real eye-opener. So back onto our question. We asked 100 people to name a piece of advice that they'd give first year pharmacy students. What do you think is up next?
Ding, 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 ding. Is it becoming a BPSA member?
Oh, surely it is. And we've got 9 people saying that.
Okay, so there's many, many, many benefits to becoming a BPSA member. First of all, you get membership to not only the BPSA, you also get membership to the RPS, which is the Royal Pharmaceutical Society, IPSF, which is the International Pharmaceutical Students Federation, and EPSA, which is the European Pharmaceutical Students Association. So with the BPSA, you're not just taking on the UK, you're taking on the whole globe, Why stop? You also get access to online resources, some that Aradhya just mentioned, such as the MEP, which are going to be very, very useful for some of your upcoming modules. Accesses to conferences and webinars such as this, and we do some in-person events as well, which is very, very nice. Representation and networking. You can build up your personal network from day one. International opportunities, as I just mentioned, we have stuff going on all across the globe in collaboration with IPSF and EPSA. And lastly, competitions and awards. So, if you've got a bit of a, you want to win stuff, please make sure to enter some of our competitions and you'll be in for some very nice prizes.
Thank you, Molly, and lovely said. So just to add on to everything, or all the benefits that becoming a BPSA member does offer, just wanted to show you a couple of photos. So essentially, just wanted to really hone down on that point about the BPSA providing networking and representation perspectives, in the sense of, as you can see from a lot of these pictures, there's a community sense. So I'll just go through. If you look at the picture on the top left, that's from the RPS annual conference. And so being a BPSA member also and an RPS member gives you free access to RPS events as well. And this is a conference where students and pharmacy professionals, pharmacy technicians all across the UK come together, sometimes even from across the globe as well, to celebrate the profession and learn more about the sectors and the different advancements that's occurring within the sector. If we go down to, or if we go across to the pictures on to the right, that's from the 81st annual conference. So we're joined on the call today by our 2 annual conference organisers, and they'll be planning the conference that's happening in Nottingham this year. And essentially it's a week-long opportunity for you to attend with different delegates and basically network, socialize, and advocate for the pharmacy profession as a student. So from day one of your student journey, you could be making change within the pharmacy profession. You don't need to wait till you're qualified. You don't need to wait till you're 10 years, 20 years within your career. Obviously, we mentioned competitions and awards. So if we look on the picture on the right, the far right, we'll see our previous competitions coordinator offering, or rather handing over an award to our competition winner. And if you look to the bottom right, you'll see a picture from an international event that was held in the UK. Next year will be held in, I believe, Norway. So great opportunities for you guys to get involved. And then obviously looking ahead for you guys as first years, when you do come into training year, you'll be able to get involved with training days and becoming a BPSA graduate member, which offers a lot more and as much as a BPSA student member also offers. And the picture in the middle bottom is a picture from the training day that was held last year. But essentially, the BPSA is a community, it's a network of pharmacy students. We understand that the journey is not an easy one. It's a 4-year, it's not typical like other degrees. The majority of the time you come to find that when you finish 3rd year and you enter in your 4th year, you're the only one from maybe your friendship group or your flatmates who's continuing on with the year. But it's not the case of just because that's what's happening, that you're alone. You have the BPSA and we're all here for you as an executive team year on year. So get in touch with our events and also listen to our podcast for more advice and more insight into the profession.
Wow. Guys, I hope you're making notes. I really hope you're making notes because I expect to see some of you in those pictures. Yeah, I remember all of you. But our final piece of advice that we give to first-year pharmacy students, let's see what the survey says.
Ding, ding, ding. I believe the survey would have said abbreviations.
Let's have a look, shall we? Abbreviations.
So the pharmacy profession is filled with so many different abbreviations to try and shorten out very long names for associations or for different clinical aspects. And so we just thought we'd share a couple of those which we found useful to know back in our first days of university and pharmacy life. So obviously today you guys are joining the BPSA webinar, which stands for the British Pharmaceutical Students Association, and that is essentially what it is. That's essentially what it is. So the Students Association for Pharmacy Students in Britain. Then you have the Royal Pharmaceutical Society, soon to be the Royal College of Pharmacy, but that's essentially the professional body for pharmacists and pharmaceutical scientists, and that's the parent association, I guess you could say, of the BPSA. Then you have the General Pharmaceutical Council, or the GPHC for short. They are the ones who protect the patients and ensure that the pharmacy professional is held to a high standard. They're the ones who accredit your degree. They're the ones, they're the ones who will oversee your training, or essentially the training, the final exam that you'll sit at the end of your training year. They're the ones who also regulate you once you become a pharmacist and a trainee pharmacist also. Then you have the PDA, the Pharmacist Defence Association. They're the official trade union for pharmacy professionals in the UK. And then you have the NPA, so the National Pharmacy Association. You have the IPSF, so that's the International Pharmaceutical Students Federation. That's like the global version of the BPSA. And then you have EPSA, which is the European Pharmaceutical Students Association, which is essentially the European version of BPSA. So remember that with your BPSA membership, if you have got it already, hope everyone here does. If not, let's change that tonight. Nevertheless, with your BPSA membership, you have access to the RPS membership, IPSF membership, and EPSA membership. So you won't have to create a new membership for each of those categories. You just, once you sign up for BPSA and RPS, you have access to all four, which is obviously a steal.
All right, so what do you think, Jaden? Who do you think won?
Oof, I don't know. It was close between the families. Who do you think?
You know what? I think we all won in here. I think the amount of information we've got out of this is the most important thing. So let's give a round of applause to our families. Well done, well done. Yes, so I'm handing it over now to Jaden to take any questions.
Okay, so guys, we've reached our Q&A section of the webinar. Any questions you have about anything pharmacy related, anything BPSA related, even if you do want to come back to assessments, we will answer your questions on that as well. So any questions you have, put it down below.
All right, so we've got a question. So, how to succeed in first year or be organized, revise for exams? I feel overwhelmed. Please advise. Let's listen to our families. We've got Ruby. Hello.
So this is something that I sort of struggle with personally as well. I'm a massive overthinker. I have to write lists of absolutely everything to try and get in my day. But one main thing that I would say is ask for help when you need it. If that's from your family, from your siblings, from your flatmates, from your lecturers, people will help you if you need it. It's the hardest thing to do, but it's the best thing to do as well. And also ask your peers because you won't be the only person feeling like it, and you can always support each other and split the work up between each other. Again, personally for me, I make a massive list of things that I need to do, and that helps me break it down a little bit day by day. But also try and find something external to let your feelings out. So maybe you like sports, maybe you like watching Netflix. Just have that maybe hour or two, just your own time during the day, just to completely rest and balance it that way.
Right, have we got any more ideas, answers? Got Martina. Hello.
Hi, great question, and thank you for asking. Just to second everything that Ruby said, it's really important to take rest as well, but also ask for help. I think one thing that also really did help me was just understanding what is required of me for the first year. So looking over the modules, especially during induction sessions, and then making a plan when the lectures were uploaded, seeing which ones did I understand, which ones I need to look over and make more notes on. And then also just watching extra videos. I think with first year, a lot of the content is kind of a recap of A-level or any similar qualifications that you would have done. So it's essentially just recap, and with that you need to make sure that you've got the core understanding of the elements that you'll be taught. So reviewing even your A-level notes, there's nothing wrong with that. Reviewing videos to gain more understanding of the lectures so that you can come out prepared, and it'll give you less revision when it comes to exam period as well. But I think making checklists is definitely one important thing, and also reaching out to your lecturers and years above you as well in the university if you have any questions. That would be really beneficial. And try not to overthink. And with overthinking, over stressing, that's something I also was very fond of doing. So something that I did or started to do was also journal and just I guess write, like reflect on my day, reflect on things I've been doing. It just gives you a new perspective and allows you to process everything that's going on in your life.
Okay. So I hope that question has been sufficiently answered. So in that case, we'll go to our next question. How do I go about joining the BPSA? Martina?
That is the perfect question. That's the question that everybody should be asking if you haven't already signed up. So the link to sign up will be on our website, but at the end of this Q&A session, we'll also share the a QR code which you can scan to sign up. And then essentially you can just put in your name. It's pretty self-explanatory. You just put in, follow the details as well. And just to link into another question that I've seen in the chat as well, which email to sign up with. I think it'd be best to sign up with your personal email, such that you can continue receiving correspondence even after you potentially lose access to your university email. And remember, the membership is free. It's free. We're not charging students because obviously we understand how finances can be. So yeah, it's a free membership and you get all of this for free. So yeah, scan the QR code at the end when it arrives.
And Bav.
Yeah, and also by joining the BPSA, you're automatically joining the RPS. So you don't need to worry about signing up to do different organizations. The Royal Pharmaceutical Society is the parent organization of the BPSA. You sign up to one, you signed up to both.
All right, on to our next question, and we have, what is the difference between the role of BPSA liaison and BPSA rep? We've got Jaden.
Yeah, so as an area coordinator, I thought I'd take this one. So as a BPSA rep, you're going to be mainly working within your year group to promote events and to help us with smaller tasks, really. But as a BPSA liaison, you're essentially going to be the bridge between us as the executive team and your School of Pharmacy. And you're also going to be leading your representatives within your specific School of Pharmacy.
Yeah, well said, Jaden. And I would like to add to this too. I think being a BPSA rep or liaison is the perfect way to start your journey with the BPSA. You start quite laid back, not laid back, but like it's not as hard as being an executive member. You don't get this much tasks, so you kind of like get a feeling. Then you also have a chance to go to be a BPSA executive, which is really helpful. It builds your portfolio and something that really helps you with your professional development. So can't wait to see all your applications.
Okay. So our next question is, what is the best way to understand the lectures? We have Bhavnita again.
Hey, understanding lectures works differently for different people. So I think first year is a really good time to figure out what works well for you. I have friends who sit there and type notes as they go throughout the lecture of everything, and then they kind of get rid of the slides afterwards. I know people who sit there in lectures and make flashcards out of the slides as they're listening and add information. What I found worked for me was kind of inserting the slides into a document and then highlighting them and making notes around what the lecturers are saying. So then I've got both sources of info to look at. But after you've made notes, it's really important that you don't just forget that they're there or leave them and only come back to them when it comes to exam time. You need to make sure that you're looking back over your lecture notes frequently enough that when it comes to exams and future years, you still remember the content. There's no point with pharmacy kind of forgetting everything after it's been taught and you've been assessed on it, because it will come back later on in the degree, and at the end we're aiming to be pharmacists, so you need to know pretty much everything that you've been taught.
And are you?
So yeah, exactly what Bav said, but I wanted to also echo Ruby's point from the presentation as well about using the learning outcomes to really guide your revision notes. I think that's an excellent way to help make it more concise and help focus your revision. I'd say also it's your first year, it's your time to trial and error like different methods of revising. I'm personally not the type to study in big groups. I end up distracting a lot of people. So it's probably not the best. But yeah, so you can really use that year then as a sort of trial run because revision will be slightly different to previous qualifications you've done. But if you've been getting on with the revision method, definitely try to use a similar technique as well and adapt it appropriately then.
All right, well said, guys. On to our next question, which is a really good question. So, will this webinar be recorded for attendance to watch later? Hello, Molly?
Hi, yes. No need to worry. If you missed any of the webinar, it's going to be recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel, which, if you look at the logo in the top left-hand corner, British Pharmaceutical Students Association, that's also the name of our YouTube channel. So you can find us there. Make sure to subscribe, and that webinar will be uploaded in due course.
Okay, so our next question is, can you recap the timeline bit briefly? I missed it. Yes, Maria.
If you just want to bring up the timeline slide, if that's okay, I'll just go through it quickly. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, okay, so just briefly, so obviously you've gone into pharmacy school, so your journey has just started, and then you will undertake a 4-year MPharm degree. So remember the M in MPharm is master's, so you're essentially doing a master's degree in pharmacy, and as we all know as well, IP is implemented in that degree. And then once you have your lovely graduation ceremony and after all your hard work, you will then undergo your foundation training year. So essentially you'll be working as a pharmacist, but under supervision. So you'll be applying everything that you've learned from university, but into practice as well. And obviously practicing independent prescribing as well. And once that is done, right at the end, you will sit a big assessment, calculations, and a clinical paper as well. And obviously you have to pass the exam, and you'll have 2 sittings each year, so in June or in November. And once you have passed it, and God willing you all will, you will then just do a bit of paperwork, and you will then be a qualified pharmacist. Yeah.
Right, so we've got a really good question again, which says, how should you manage your time to include portfolio work alongside your studies? We've got Rajua.
I would definitely say making a timetable would definitely help. It would help you structure your time. You can see how your week is going to look. And if you can structure a timetable for a month, then you've got a plan on how you're going to progress in that month. I definitely say that making friends on the course, that will also help you kind of structure your time, because if you've got portfolio work, it's likely that your course mates will also have roughly the same. So maybe making a shared plan with them and holding each other accountable would definitely be helpful.
And we've got Martina.
A really good question, and a skill that once you learn at uni will definitely be beneficial for you when you get to foundation training year. In terms of managing portfolio time with your portfolio as well, one thing I'd recommend and one thing that I also did was if I attended an event or I did something in placement that I thought was relevant for my portfolio, maybe a CPD or reflective account. By the way, CPD stands for Continuing Professional Development. So then I would make a note in my notes app and then just do a quick reflection or just write down what the activity entailed, such that at a later point when it's time to actually submit the portfolio evidences, then I can look back at my notes and remember what I did and then kind of just write it formally into a document and submit that. So I guess just dedicating every maybe about an hour a week or so, or if you have placement, an hour a week just to reflect on what you've done, whether it's a day, whether it's during that week, whether it's a period, and then just making a note of it so that when you come to submitting your evidences, you can remember what you did.
Okay, great answer. We have another great question. How to study for calculations? As someone that didn't do A-level maths for A-levels, I resound with this question as well. So does anyone from the exec team have an answer on the best way to study for calculations? Yes, Maria.
Practice, 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 practice. Guys, I'm so bad at calculations. But what I essentially did was just go to the basics. So even as something as simple as like maybe displacement values, I was like, what is going on? I'm so confused. Asking the lecturer, like being transparent with them as well. If they know you're struggling on something, they will most likely provide an extra session, especially when you have those small group teaching sessions. Just raising that with them so they're aware and they can like go through it with you in more detail. There's nothing to be embarrassed about that as well. And for myself, I would like to like watch videos on it. There's a lot of videos on YouTube as well, and even pharmacy creators, they teach it as well on their Instagram or TikTok. It's just going through that and even asking like a friend, if I had a really smart friend that could do every maths calculation from the top of their head, so I'd learn from them as well. But if you just keep practicing, you'll be absolutely fine.
And Irajua?
Yeah, as Maria said, definitely practice, practice, practice. And I'd say doing it under time conditions as well. If you know how long your calculations exams are going to be, make sure you're answering the questions in that time. So when it comes to the exam, you know that you're going to be fine.
And to round it up, Martina?
In terms of where you can go for practice, with your BPSA/RPS membership, you have access to the RPS library. So you should be able to find some calculation workbooks in there. Alternatively, you can also look at your university library resources to check. They should have some pharmaceutical calculations textbooks in there. I think one of them that I found really useful was this yellow book. I can't remember the full name, but it was a yellow book about pharmaceutical calculation.
Right, that was a really good question with really some good answers. Moving on to our next question, what is good websites to learn all year one units and good resources? We've got a you.
I think I used a lot of Professor Dave Explains in first year. I think that was on the slides, but it was a lot about the chemistry and the that side of things. That was quite helpful. In terms of year one units, it depends how your course is kind of structured. Ours we had like a biology unit, a chemistry unit, and then the professionalism unit. But I guess resources. I think Martina said it reflects kind of your previous studies. So it'll be a step up from that. So things that you've used previously will still be relevant to this. But I'd say focus as well on the reading that the lecturers give you. If there's any recommended or additional reading, that would be quite helpful.
All right, well said, Ayub. And from my side, I personally found that using uh, lecture slides and extra reading or like recommended reading was sufficient. But if when I struggled with something, I just would Google it and look at a video explaining it, and that would like explain the whole thing for me, and I was good to go.
Okay, so with that in mind, I think we're going to go back to the resources page quickly.
Yeah, so essentially you've got many resources also available to you. So you've got the BNF, which would be available to you when you are kind of prescribing. That would be further down the line in OSCEs, like from year two onwards, you would be required to prescribe some stuff. You'd be required to be able to use the BNF in earlier years to kind of get a hand of or like get the gist of how to use it because it's um like you would need to be able to use it properly. You also have the BNF for children, which goes the same way. You have MEP, the MEP, which personally we use or was really useful for us with dispensing. So we had accessibility to that even during our dispensing exam. But let's forget about exams. The MEP is essential also for day-to-day life practicing. So when you have like any questions or any like thing like kind of legally, this is where you should be going back and referring to the EMC. You have the SPCs, which essentially tells you about licensing of over-the-counter medications, side effects, and much more. The MD Calc app, which is gives you equations, gives you somewhere to calculate stuff, and guidelines. And finally, with these, so Quizlet and Anki, this is something that a lot of my friends personally do use for revision. Um, if I'm not mistaken, you can put your slides in there and then it like provides quizzes for you and flashcards for you automatically. And then note taking, you can take notes while the lecture is going. Again, this is depending on you personally. So if you have to find your own way around it of what suits you best. Personally, I don't write notes a lot. I write whatever the lecturer says that is not on the slide. So if they say something extra or something is important for exam, that is only what I write down. But that is not standard, I have to mention. The YouTube channels like YouTube, Ninja Nerd, Speed Pharmacology, Professor Dave Explains, which is a really famous one. The pharmacy creators, they do post day-to-day experience, they post tips and tricks with studies and much more. So these are actually helpful and they are quite fast-paced, so you don't need to be sat there for that long. And you have our own Trainee Tuesday quizzes, which are there for you. They are for trainees. I personally used to answer them just like Ruby did. I didn't get this much questions right, but I learned something too. So yeah, just like the tip says, try to find your best way around it, and it differs from person to person.
Yeah, well summarized by Abdullah. Just to hedge again that the MEP is part of your RPS membership, which you do get as part of being a BPSA member. So make sure to get that as well as the other resources, which are all online and free. So that's all there for you guys. Additionally, part of first year, part of your pharmacy degree is finding out what works well for you. So something you might have used at A level or at the start of first year, you might not go on to use at the end of first year. So it's all about finding what challenges you, what pushes you to then go and get the top grades. Just some housekeeping as well. If we do have any hands up from our participants, we'll be answering those questions at the end. So we will go on to our next question now. So we've been asked, what opportunities are there for first years in terms of roles in the BPSA? Okay, so as a first year myself last year, I'll take part of this one. So obviously getting involved as a representative for your uni, applications are open and they'll be closing on October 13th. So that's a great way to get involved quite early on in your pharmacy career. I believe recently we found out that I think 11 of the current exec team was a rep or a liaison at some point. So they are honestly brilliant ways for you to get involved, not only in the BPSA, but in your own personal pharmacy career. So does anyone else have any other contributions? Martina.
Okay, I love this question because I think the opportunities within BPSA as for a first year or just any student in general are limitless. I think we do focus a lot on like reps and liaisons and all these different or subcommittees and these different I guess positions, but getting involved includes entering a competition, coming to this webinar. You guys are getting involved from day one, coming to conferences, getting involved with the different storybook posts, or when we send out calls for you to share your story, getting involved with that. When we do post our story in queues, which is the Tuesday Junior Quizzes for the Farmer Fridays, if you grasp all the community essence of the BPSA has to, then definitely attending webinars, definitely attending especially in-person events, and joining the community of reps and liaison subcommittee members, because you're joining the exec community that way as well. You get to meet the rest of us who are here, because it's not just the 9 of us who are on this call today. There's a whole team of 20 executive members. So there's a way you can get involved. And obviously reading the bulletin and getting involved with the Farm Star nominations as well, and putting yourself out there and sharing your amazing stories and what you've achieved and what you are achieving.
Right, well said, Martina. On to our next question, which is how to get a better mark in first year. As an international student, everything is new here. Are you?
I was just typing an answer, but I'll answer it live. But basically, I think as an international student, I think it's time to give yourself a chance to adjust. I wouldn't expect you to cram everything or know everything by now, because you're not just adjusting to a new sort of degree of your education. You're adjusting to a whole new city, country, wherever it might be. I'd say ask questions. Your lecturers expect it. They want the questions. It shows engagement. It shows good like sense to ask questions if you're unsure about things, but also try to find, I guess, a network of people around you similar to, this is what the BPSA is all about as well, building a network. So definitely find that support group around you, so that if you're struggling at all, you can rely on them. In terms of revision, again, similar sort of things. Don't just reread, make like active notes, active recall, these things. Flashcards are a great way. Yeah, boy, you've got this. Good luck.
I would like to kind of jump in again and say, as an international student myself, I know it's not easy, like moving countries and starting a whole new life, but try to make as much friends as you want. It might, as you can, I'm sorry. It might not sound like it is the best thing to give you best marks, but it is a major thing when getting marks, because if you don't have friends and you're not having fun with your life, you would be like it affects your studies too. So make friends, talk to like higher years, get experiences from them, ask them about what they've got on exams, because these also do like recur from year to year. And yeah, we got any more answers? Jaden?
Okay. So next question is how to know exactly what to study so you can answer exam questions effectively. And this has already been touched on slightly, but does anyone want to summarize what we've already said? Maria.
So as what was mentioned as well, if you obviously look at the lectures, the learning outcomes are the main things. It differs from university to university, so obviously the exam that you sit in one university won't be the same as another university. But obviously pay attention to the lecturer. Sometimes, you know, they focus on a certain area in the lecture, or they highlight certain things. Pay attention to those, because those most likely will come up in the exam. And especially the learning outcomes as well. If you meet the learning outcomes, most likely they will test you on that as well. So yeah.
Right, on to our next question, and we've got a question that I personally do like and do love. When and where is the next BPSA annual conference? And I will hand it over to our ACO's annual conference organizers. So, Rajua, hello.
Hi, thanks, Abdullah. This is a great question. Thank you for asking. Our next annual conference will be in Nottingham. For those that don't know, it's in the East Midlands, so a bit above Leicester, and it's very accessible by a lot of public transport. It will be from the 5th of April 2026 to the 12th of April 2026, and I hope to see all of you there and bring all your pharmacy friends along.
With that, it is a week-long conference, but we've also got BPSA Day, which is one day of just workshops, keynotes, meeting all of our sponsors, loads of really cool people in the world of pharmacy. So if you can't make the week-long conference, then you can definitely try and get in on BPSA Day. If you are attending the week-long conference, then everything, including your food, accommodation, dinners, it's all included, so you don't have to worry about anything other than getting yourself there after you pay the ticket price.
Rajua?
Just to add on to that, if you're wanting to go, I'd say definitely get in touch with your universities and their academics. They might be able to sponsor you guys. That's definitely a better way to go about it, just so it's a bit cheaper for your pockets. I'd say follow the social media. If you follow the social media, you'll definitely get a lot more insights about annual conference. Just keep an eye out and see what me and Bav have to post. More details will be followed shortly. I don't know if Bav, you have anything to add on to this?
Yeah, more just about talking to your universities. The more you talk about wanting to go to BPSA annual conference, the more likely they are to be able to send you there and sponsor your ticket as well. It is a really good opportunity if you can convince them. But we're working on it anyway on our side too. And we hope to see you in Nottingham.
Yeah, a couple more points from me personally, guys. Get in touch with your area coordinators too, if about your university sponsoring your tickets. And also accommodation is included within your ticket, so that is something that you don't need to worry about. Back to Jaden.
Okay, so you guys have heard it here first. Nottingham for our annual conference next year. I expect to see everyone here. I've said it once, I'm now saying it twice. So we'll move on to our next question. What makes a good CV to get a part-time job in pharmacy? Yes, Ruby.
I think what stands out for any pharmacist is passion. If you're passionate about the role, people will see it. And in terms of what to put on your CV, just any experience that you've had. So maybe you were in a music band, maybe you were in a sports team where you showed leadership, or maybe you volunteered somewhere in your school. Put that on it and just talk about how you show different attributes and what makes you different apart from everyone else. And again, just show your passion for it and it will stand out, trust me.
Lovely answer that. And Martina?
Just want to share a couple of advice I was also given. I think it's a standard practice or well known to try and keep your CV to one page, and share the more important aspects of I guess your experience and your background and who you are, because nobody wants to read 10 pages of nobody wants to read 10 pages of what you've done. Unfortunately, that's the reality. So if you keep it quick, snappy, something that they can just view and be like, oh, this person's good, this person's got this person's appropriate, then it'll be a bit easier for them to process and less likely for them to reject your application. But obviously, you guys are probably doing amazing things and should definitely highlight them. So in addition to your one-page CV, it'll be really great for you to have a cover letter. So if you've maybe worked in retail, which in hindsight or in face value probably looks completely different to pharmacy, you can talk about the transferable skills that you've developed within retail, maybe share an experience that you you had within the retail sector and apply that to pharmacy and how it's relevant. And then if you include that in the cover letter and any other reasons why you want to work in the pharmacy or want to work in a specific area or sector, it definitely does support your application.
All right, so on to our next question, which is how do we sign up to or join and find out about international opportunities? Really good question. And we've got Molly.
Sorry, excuse me. There are a few ways that you can find out about our international opportunities. The first I'd say is the BPSA bulletin. We put a lot of opportunities in there. We also have two Instagrams. We have IPSF UK, which is for International Pharmaceutical Students Federation, and EPSA Instagram as well. And also following our normal BPSA Instagram because we tend to reshare stuff on there. If you follow all three of those accounts, you're not going to miss an opportunity.
Okay. So that's everything international. So our next question is, industry placements are not common for unis to offer, but it's something that I'm considering. Does the exec team have any advice for them? Yes, Maria.
So some lecturers will be like industry based. So if you liaise with them early on, they can give you some advice and even like help connect you with people as well. Another thing is, even if your uni may not offer it for you or advertise it for you, some industries, for example, AstraZeneca does like summer internship and summer placements. But you have to be a bit proactive and look outside. So I'd recommend like maybe like subscribing to their emails and things like that, or just checking ever so often to see when these internships come out. But the best way to get involved in industry is to get experience, and yeah.
And Martina, to add on to that?
I think what Maria says perfectly sums it up, especially with the part about being proactive. I think this advice I'm about to give doesn't just go to industry placements. It goes to anyone who's thinking about what you say non-typical pharmacy career or want to get experience in that career or just essentially pharmacy experience. Having a LinkedIn account will become your bread and butter as a pharmacy student because it's a great way for you to essentially network or connect with pharmacy professionals. And let's say maybe you want to work in an industry company, you can literally message someone who works there because that's one great thing about LinkedIn. You can find who works in an organization and from there connect with them, talk with them, basically share that you're a student, that you're interested in this industry, you're interested in prison pharmacy, you're interested in community, whatever it is, to let them know. Maybe even attach your CV, your cover letter on there. And then if they want to review it and have mercy and grace and be kind and give you a job and a place, then they will do so. But definitely being proactive and not just expecting an opportunity to come to you, but also looking for that opportunity and creating that opportunity when it's not there will definitely help you. But I hope that advice also helps.
Right, amazing question and looking to secure something in the future. On to our next question. What is the GPHC assessment like at the end of the foundation training year? And will it be likely university assessments? And we've got Maria.
So with the GPHC exam, so obviously you'll have your calculations and then you have your clinical paper. With calculations, it should be similar to university. You should be doing calculations each year anyway, so it would be very similar to that. And then with the clinical paper, so it's not like, for example, I know in year one, like maybe you'll learn like, for example, chemistry, like your SP1, your SP2, or like you learn about receptors in biology. So the exam won't test you on that. Obviously, it's good to know to obviously apply in practice, especially when you're learning about drugs. But it'll be something like, for example, you'll have a set of bloods, and then they'll be like, for example, the B12 is low, and then you'll have a list of drugs, and it could be like, which one of the drugs could be contributing to this, and metformin could be on there, and you know that a recent MHRA has said that metformin can cause low B12 levels, so things like that. So it's very clinical. And to add on to that as well, the GPHC website, so they do have sample questions that have just recently been updated as well. So if you have a look at that, it'll give you more insight into what the exam questions would be around.
Well said, Maria. Hearing from our experts, we move on to Ayub, our second expert.
Oh, I think Maria's the best person, guys. Maria's a fully qualified pharmacist now. She's been through it. I was just gonna say, I love that you're thinking early. It's really good. And the time will fly by, so you'll get there in no time. I guess just to echo what Maria said as well, in the lectures, really pay attention to the sort of clinical stuff. So it's less in first year, more of like later on in your degree, I suppose. But yeah, it's definitely something to have in mind. But yeah, enjoy it, enjoy your degree, and you'll get there when you get there, which will be very soon.
Okay. As you heard from our two expert guys, but the next question is, how do we sign up to conferences and what is the process like for international opportunities? Thank you, and you are welcome. So, does anyone have any answers? How do we sign up to conferences, guys? Yes, Bavnita.
Hey, so for conferences, it's definitely worth following the BPSA Instagram page, keeping an eye on all of our social media accounts. When we have conferences live, we'll share details of all of them on our accounts, and then we'll usually have a sign up link for them too. This includes all of our area conferences, which are like one-day conferences spread out across the UK, annual conference, and things like our webinar Wednesdays. This is one of our Wednesday webinars, and we'll cover a range of things throughout the year on webinar Wednesdays, like parts of your pharmacy journey, like foundation year, oral, the registration exams, learning things like mental health support. So it's definitely worth keeping an eye out on our socials for all of that.
Lola?
Yeah, so typically we usually have a link on the link tree for signing up for any conference that we do promote or post on our socials. And then from there, the process is quite straightforward. You just follow the steps. And I believe that this is the same process that IPSF and EPSA follow too. So just a link on the link tree and you follow the steps and voila, you're signed up. Right. And from there, I'm going to take it to, oh, Bavnita.
Sorry, just to add, on our webinars and conferences, we don't have our next conference is a Black History Month conference taking place on, I believe, the 1st of November, which we'll share more details about shortly on our social media accounts. But we're also going to have a whole host of conferences coming out in November, so again, keep an eye out for them.
Yeah, well said, Bavnita. And there are some stuff for you to be looking out for. On to our next question, which is how long do you recommend I work a day for first year? I'm getting quite overwhelmed, so just to get an idea. We've got Ruby. Hello.
As someone who has worked while studying before, my main thing, especially in first year, firstly, actually think about how many hours you can give to someone, or how many hours you can commit to. I'd say first, in like your first few weeks, just figure out how long does it take to get to uni, how long does it take to get back, especially if you're commuting, how much time can you actually give to something else. But also, you don't have to work every day, all day. You can literally, if you've got maybe a free Wednesday morning, just go in on a Wednesday for a few hours. Maybe you do a Saturday, maybe you just join a little bit. You don't have to work every day or every week even, and just give that good balance of getting your knowledge still in, but also don't put too much pressure on yourself to work all the time.
Okay. So with that, we'll move on to our next question, which is, what do you say is the thing that you wished you knew at the start of the course? Any of the exec team have any insight to share? Molly?
I would say to just go in with an open mind, because I think when I think back to before I started pharmacy school, I had no idea what was in store for me. And I think keep an open mind, you know, take every opportunity you can, whether it's big or small, make friends, build a network, and yeah, just have fun with it as well.
Maria?
Something I wish I knew was just to listen more to myself, trust that gut feeling. So, you know, I would get burnt out early on sometimes, and that's because I'd, take on a lot of work and then I'd say yes to everything. And sometimes it's just knowing yourself and your boundaries as well, and that's absolutely fine, especially in your first year. It's so different compared to college, and it's just knowing what you're comfortable with. So yeah.
Right, well said. So, on to our next question, which is, what would be your most useful tip that would actually make pharmacy a bit easier to learn, or the best thing to do in lectures? Because I don't know what is the best thing to do in lectures. We've got a you.
I'd say the same things that we've been mentioning, things like active recall. I think that's the main technique I used in uni. It's important not to just make notes passively and leave them. So definitely active recall is probably the way. Connecting with people again, so building your network. It's important to also think about assignments and how you want to perform in those. So don't just think about the exam and like revising lectures. It's also important to think about your coursework and really giving that a good go as well then.
Okay. So our next question is how to find past exam questions for first year. Martina.
I think this is a very good question. And it's going to be unfortunate to hear, but I don't think past papers really exist at uni, unfortunately. So typically they will give out, or some universities, at least for mine, they give out a mock paper before our assessments. But at least what we'd find is the mock paper is really reflective of the main exam. So if you study the mock exam and the resources that your university give you, you should be prepared for the exam, for the exam you're going to sit. I think when you come back from A level and the equivalent qualifications, you probably find like the past papers are the best way to revise, and it's definitely true because you get to practice those questions. However, one thing I will say, and it's coming from personal experience as well, is within pharmacy sometimes using too many resources and using too many question banks can be even more detrimental than focusing on one and understanding the concepts of that one that the university is giving you. You could obviously ask the years above you for their mock papers or for any questions and workshop materials that they provided to them, but chances are the same ones that they gave to the years above you are the same ones they're going to give to you. So essentially, past papers don't really exist as per se, but just utilize the mock papers. And if you don't have a mock paper, request a mock paper. You're very much entitled to that, guys. Remember, you're paying 9K plus for your university experience per year. That's not even for the 4 years, that's per year. So if you need more extra help, if you need resources, do not be afraid to ask, because that's where your tuition fees are going towards. So make sure to utilize your lecturers and academics that are available.
Hello, Jayden.
Yeah, just to add on to Martina's answer quickly, guys, we live in an age where we have things like AI. Utilize it, utilize it. Don't use it for your other courseworks, but we know what we have to learn. all you have to do is put your learning outcomes into any kind of AI. It will generate you 5 past papers if you like. So utilize what we have, but utilize it sensibly. Don't say it's the BPSA that got you in trouble with your uni. But yes, Ayub.
I was going to say also, guys, don't forget as a student, you also have free subscription to Pharmaceutical Journal. On there, you'll find so many topics, CPG based, if you want to learn more about things for your portfolio or things like that, or when you get into later on in your years, you can really expand your clinical knowledge for free. And you get to do, they have quizzes on there at the end as well that test what you've just learned. So that could be a good.
Okay. 3
All
great
right.
answers.
Yeah, really great answers. On to our next question, which is, can you apply for both roles, a liaison and a rep, and see which one you get, or just one? Really love this question. Ruby?
So I went for the liaison officer in my first year, but I put on my application I would like to be considered for other roles. So there is, I think, a section that says like other information. If you just say something like that, and we can consider you, but I definitely suggest just go for the one that you want the most, but just mention it, and we will definitely get back to you.
Martina?
And just to add, if you'd like to, obviously, yes, I do agree with Ruby, where she says to apply for the one that you feel most connected to you and that you can bring the most into. But if you'd like to apply for both, you can. However, you will not get both the rep and liaison role. You get one of the two, if you are selected for either.
Okay. So our next question is, what are some mistakes you made in first year and how did you fix them? That's a brilliant question, that. Martina?
So I didn't do biology A level. And coming into uni, we had a whole biology module. And so I actually tried to be on it because I knew that I had a lack of knowledge. So I remember when it came to biology, the biology topics, I'll get books and from the library and I'll ask questions, X, Y, Z. But I remember there was this one lab report, the first lab report we had for the year. I remember spending hours and hours in the library, and I scored quite poorly on that lab report, unfortunately. Well, not too poor because I obviously passed, but not good enough as I expected for myself because obviously I invested a lot of time. And I think reflecting on it now, the mistake I made from that was not understanding what the assignment was requiring of me. It was a biology report, I think, on blood pressure, and it was limited in numbers. I think, oh, there was a word limit, so there's only so much you could say for a question. But I was rambling on about something that had nothing to do with the question, but I thought it was relevant because, like it showed my scientific research. Nonetheless, it just didn't it doesn't meet what the lecturers were requiring from the question. So essentially, yeah, my advice to you is whenever you're completing an assignment, don't be quick to show off. Just look at what the question is requiring of you, and reflect on that. If you have any questions, this is something I didn't do at the time, and I changed that for my second lab report, and in the first lab report, just to expose, I got 51% in the first lab report. In the second lab report, I think I got like 76%. So there was a big jump essentially. But that was because I asked questions, and that was because I actually looked at what the lab report was asking of me, and essentially just answered according to that and not just what my knowledge knew. So yeah, answering questions or focusing on what the assignment is asking for and asking questions are things that I almost the ways I fix my mistakes from first year.
And Bath?
Yeah, mine's kind of going in a different direction to that, but it was around freshers in first year, I got really ill, so couldn't join any societies, and I kind of thought that meant, okay, that's it, like, we're not doing societies with, like, friends, whatever. But then I think I slowly just realized that societies are always accepting people. There's refreshers when you come back in January, there's freshers the next years when you're at uni. If you don't quite find where you fit in first year or like at the very beginning of the degree, it doesn't really matter because you've still got 4 years to figure it out. You will figure it out, and there's still opportunities to get involved even if you've missed those chances early on. Reflecting backwards, 4 years is quite a long time. I think you'll definitely learn throughout the degree to reflect on what things are happening. You'll be able to see where maybe you're making mistakes or things aren't quite going as well as you want them to. And that's where reflecting as an individual comes in, asking around if people have any advice as well, or talking to university staff can really help try and fix them too.
These were some problems, and I'm glad you guys solved them. On to our next question. Are there any good websites for flashcards, particularly to collaborate with friends? For example, everyone could edit flashcards and make changes, etc. Hello, Martina.
Hi, Abdullah, and thank you for asking this question. I believe Quizlet and Anki are great sites. Personally, I used Anki, and I'm not sure if you can edit it if your friend makes it, or if your friend can edit if you make it. But I know we were able to, myself and my friends, we were able to share amongst ourselves and test each other, quiz each other. So yeah, in terms of sharing the content, Anki is a good one.
Okay. Me personally, guys, I'm a big advocate of Anki. So if you had to ask me for my advice, use Anki. Next question is, how do I revise from the study pack given? It's about 60 pages and I have 2 weeks to learn it before an MCQ. I find it quite overwhelming and I don't know how to make sure I understand all the material. Maria?
I think the main thing would be communication. So obviously, again, raising those concerns with your lecturer as well. Just letting them know, okay, I don't understand this. Can you go through it with me? Or I don't understand this part. And even just asking your friends or classmates as well, if you have a group chat, seeing if anyone could help. That would be the best way to start first.
All right, and with that, we come to an end with the Q&A in the chat. We have a hand up for Chisholm, so hello, Chisholm. Can you come on the mic? All right, Chisholm, if you are talking, we can't hear you. If you could type your question in the Q&A bit, we would be able to pick it from there. If we go back to the question, so what is the best way to revise for all the modules in the first year? Martina?
I think utilizing the resources available. We've obviously shared quite a few. You obviously probably have workshops and different stimulated sessions throughout the year. And obviously library resources are a great way. So utilizing the resources that are available to you would be a wonderful way to revise your modules. Also, don't forget the notes you've already made from your A-levels or equivalent qualifications before university, and asking questions. And I think we mentioned active recall today. That's definitely a really great way to learn, and teaching others as well. Beneficial ways to revise.
And hello, Maria.
Just quickly following on from Martina's point as well. You made it to pharmacy school, so you passed your exams in college or your assignments as well. So you know yourself best, so you know how obviously you revise as well. So don't feel like obviously you have to change everything. Just because you're started university, you don't have to at all. Maybe it's the same revision style you've done the entire time that will work for you as well.
Okay. And now, unless anyone has any last minute questions, we are down to our final question of the evening, of which it is, how can I find ready flashcards on Anki? Because it will be longer if we have to do it. Molly?
Sometimes you can. Sometimes your university will have like a note deck on Anki and they share it with people. But for me personally, I would recommend part of the learning and understanding is in creating the questions for yourself. So I would actually recommend making the flashcards yourself because then you're going to be able to tailor it to your level of understanding and your personal needs. Whereas if you're using flashcards that have been made by other people, they might not be written in the best way to help you learn.
All right, on to our last question, which is, does MPharm have a dissertation at the end of the fourth year? And if yes, what should I do in my first year? And on to not struggle with my dissertation. Thank you. And thank you for your question. We've got a you.
Hi, thank you for the question. Yes, so you do have a final year project. It's usually the biggest piece of independent work that you'll have to do, and you get to pick a focus area like lab-based research, or if you're interested more in the clinical side of pharmacy and the practice side, then you can look into some sort of service evaluation, things like that. And then there's also literature reviews. So that's more of a deep dive a dive into a pharmacy topic that you want. I'd say in terms of how it feels, at first it's overwhelming. It's a much larger project than an essay or a report. Ours was 6,000 words, but the work that went into it was more than 6,000 words, I'll tell you. But once you break it up into the chunks, like a proposal, literature review, methods, results discussion, and when you do those, you've got some months allocated for that. It becomes manageable. But the best part is choosing a topic that you really enjoy and that genuinely interests you because it makes the months more enjoyable. So yeah, but again, it's a long way to think about and use this time as an opportunity to find out what topics interest you, so you can put that in your mind then for later when you have to choose your dissertation topic.
Okay. And our last question for the evening. It's a big question, but any advice on starting a farm shop in university? Martina?
Hi, I love this question because it kind of brings home back, oh, takes me back home. But I think it's a really important question because yes, pharmacy society essentially is something that you'll definitely get involved with at one point. It definitely helps provide a community within your university. In terms of advice on starting pharmacy society at university, definitely understanding how societies work. So typically from uni to uni, it varies, but at least at my university, when I was setting up my pharmacy society at Swansea, you needed a president, a treasurer, and a secretary for a society to be run, not just for pharmacy, but any society. So first step is going to your student union or whichever student body represent at your university and understanding what is the requirements for the society to run. Then secondly, you start thinking about a team. Who would you like to, or in a sense of understanding whether there's interest in the society as well. Would people be interested in being on the team or as a committee, or would they be interested in being a member of the society as well? Because in order for the society to run, there needs to be someone who it's running for. So that's something to consider also. And then I guess in the near future, you also want to think about what is your vision, what is your mission for the society, what do you want to achieve with it? Obviously, community is the main thing, but how does community look like to you? Because for some people, the Pharmacy Society is a hub for revision. For others, it's a place for them to socialize with students outside of the lecture hall. So ask yourself what it is that you want society to be. It can even be both, quite frankly. But one thing I'd say is pharmacy societies are really important within the universities. They're something that's special to the BPSA also. We even have a PharmSoc symposium where we invite all our pharmacy societies from different universities to basically share their work and discuss how we can collaborate further. So yeah, I would highly recommend if you're at a new school of pharmacy that you establish a pharmacy society and get engagement across your students and peers. But yeah, looking forward to hearing more about that, hopefully, and hope that helps.
All right, and that was our last question for tonight. Thanks for all your questions. And now we've just got a couple of announcements for you. So we've got firstly our engagement officer subcommittee that is open. Applications are open for this now. So if you want to get even more involved with the BPSA, as we mentioned previously, you want to work closely with our engagement officer, you want to be managing a lot of projects with essentially our Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, not Twitter, X now, and much more. Please apply to that. We've got also our Formstar nominations, which are open. This is essentially where you can nominate someone you know and for something great that they've done, and they get recognized for all the great work they've done. And last but not least, the one that I really like personally, being a rep or a liaison. So we've got applications open for reps and liaisons. The deadline is the 13th of October for that. As we mentioned previously, being a rep, you represent the BPSA in your year group. Being a liaison, you represent your school of pharmacy within the BPSA. It's a really good way to start your career with the BPSA, either this or the engagement officer subcommittee, to be honest. Any involvement with the BPSA is something that is really great and appreciated to be seen in your CV. So get on with these, and I can't wait to see all your applications. Have we got anything to add on them announcements? All right. I'll pass it over to Jaden.
Okay, so yeah, thank you guys for coming. I hope you had a lovely time this evening with us. And yeah, so the QR code is for you to get your membership to join the BPSA. As we said throughout the webinar, make sure you follow us on all of our socials. We're on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, X, any social media platform you can think of, you'll find the BPSA on there. Additionally, the lecture was recorded and it will be uploaded to YouTube. So if you have any friends that'd like to catch up on it that couldn't make it, it'll be there. Or if you yourself missed anything today, it will also be up on there. Additionally, email us if you guys have any more questions. As you can see along the bottom, kindly email executive@bpsa.co.uk and we will try our best to get back to you and your query as soon as possible, especially if the person who is asking about PharmSocs, if they want any more detail on advice, they can come to us, or anyone that asks about international opportunities, etc., etc. Or anything in general, you guys can always come to us. We're a very approachable team, and hopefully we'll see you guys throughout the year. This is the start of your BPSA journey, and hopefully this will not be the end. Let's have a good 4 years.
Finally, I have to reiterate, guys, that we are students. So please feel free again to approach us. We are students in the end. So yeah, good luck with your pharmacy journey, and thank you for attending.